ladies and gentlemen. Myself, Sidharth Verma. I am IRPS Officer 2015 exam batch, and you're watching me on Delhi Knowledge Track right now. So we have been told that there is an issue with respect to the various candidates of the civil services exams when it comes to filling out the detailed application form because of lack of information regarding the various services. जैसा कि हमको पता है कि सिविल सर्विस एग्ज़ाम जो यूपीएससी कंडक्ट करती है, इट इज़ कंडक्टेड फॉर अ लॉट ऑफ पोस्ट्स इन द इंडियन गवर्नमेंट, इन द इंडियन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन फॉर दैट मैटर. द एग्ज़ाम इज़ कंडक्टेड फॉर अराउंड मोर देन 20 सर्विसेज. ग्रुप ए और ग्रुप बी के पोस्ट्स होते हैं इसमें. सो देर आर अ लॉट ऑफ सर्विसेज, देर आर अ फ्यू सर्विसेज दैट वी नो अबाउट एंड some services that not many people are aware of. So I'm here to talk about the Indian Railway Personnel Service. The Indian Railways is one of the largest organizations in the world and one of the largest workforce that we can think of in the whole world. In fact, one of the fourth largest number of employees for any organization across the world. That is what Indian Railways is. And the Indian Railway Personnel Service, Bharatiya Rail Karmik Seva, caters to the human resource management specifically of the Indian Railways. The UPSC conducts the exam for Group A civil servants, as we all know, and some Group B servants as well. So among the Group A civil servants, we know that we are the core elite of the administration in the country, occupying the top echelons of bureaucracy in the country today. The Indian Railway Personnel Service is the only civil services among the various Group A services as well as the All India services in the country which is dedicated solely for the purpose of human resource management. The personnel services which takes care of various aspects of human resource management in the Indian Railways is the only such organization in the country, or the only such service in the country to that matter. The Indian Railways, as we know, is a very old organization, but care was given to the personnel management or to the employees only later during the period of the Indian Railways. Even though a separate personnel branch was not seen in the railways until in the 1980s for that matter, but the personnel department or the functions of the personnel department was seen to be necessary from 1950s, if I remember correctly. So the dedicated personnel department started in the Indian Railways from 1975 on a government executive order. The first exam batch was started in 1980. So we can see that among the other railway services, we know of the various railway services which the UPSC conducts: the Indian Railway Traffic Service, the Indian Railway Account Service, the Railway Protection Force. One of the youngest services within the various civil services of the country, and definitely the youngest service within the railways, the IRPS is one of the fastest growing civil services in the country today. We know the various services within the railways, that is the Indian Railway Traffic Service, the Indian Railway Account Service, Railway Protection Force. These are the various services that have been in existence for some time now. But the fastest growing one is the Indian Railway Personnel Service. Due to the fact that the consciousness among the various sectors within the government for the welfare of the employees, we are starting to realize that only when the employees are productive will the organization flourish. So with that consciousness, we are moving towards a more employee-centric organization across the sectors in the government, and the railway is no exception to that matter. Even though the personnel department existed in the Indian Railways since 1951, that is almost 100 years after the inception of the Indian Railways, it was only until 1975 that a dedicated corps or a dedicated cadre was created for the personnel department of the Indian Railways. And it was not until 1980 that the first exam batch or the first batch was taken for the IRPS from the civil services. The IRPS takes care of various aspects of the Indian Railways, the employees. The establishment matters and the various personnel matters of the employees is being taken care of. The welfare aspects like the pension schemes, the settlements, the staff benefits, and all those other aspects are also being taken care of. the labor laws and the legal aspects, the various labor laws in the country that make sure that the employees are getting their rights, the socialist aspect of the country, so to speak, is being taken care of in the Indian Railways by the IRPS. The welfare aspects, as I have mentioned already. And the most important aspect being the industrial relationships. The labor unions within the Indian Railways, as we all know, is one of the strongest across the country. The link, the administrative link between the administration or the government and the employees is conducted by the IRPS service. The training, therefore, for IRPS must reflect all the kind of work that we have to do in the future for the government. The training begins at Labasna, like all other Group A civil services, the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration in Mussoorie. It is a 10-week-long course for inculcating the various values among the leaders of tomorrow. So all of us, we report to Labasna in Mussoorie, and the main aim of the foundation course is to inculcate a sort of camaraderie between the various civil servants of the country. We are made to understand that we are all part of this huge machinery that is Indian bureaucracy, and we are the ones who are to govern the country tomorrow. So as to inculcate this camaraderie and this cooperation between the various services and to develop the friendship which would last across the years. The foundation course involves modules on leadership, etiquette, governance, public administration, legal matters, and other important matters that are necessary for an officer. The major aim is also to develop the camaraderie among the various civil services. The cooperation is requisite among the bureaucrats of the country if we are to implement the governance as we envision it for our country. When we talk about governance, we have to understand that the machinery is so huge that unless there is cooperation, unless there is a sort of camaraderie or bonhomie between the officers, it becomes difficult to have that streamlining operation or that well-oiled machinery that is the Indian government. The foundation course at Labasna involves various other cultural and sports activities as well. The trekking aspects, the physical training, and the other general activities are as much a part of the foundation course as are the other educational aspects. The overall development of, or the overall initiation, so to speak, of the officer into the government happens at the foundation course in Labasna, Mussoorie. After the foundation course, we move to the National Academy of Indian Railways, which is housed in the Pratap Vilas Palace in Vadodara, Gujarat. The training of railway officers, or the IRPS to be specific, is for a period of 78 weeks. The training begins with the Advanced Foundation Program, which is a specific program for the railway officers. The railway department consists of, or the railway organization consists of several departments. The two major one of them being, one is the administration side and the other being the engineering side. So all the officers of the administration, all the Group A officers are subjected to the Advanced Foundation Program, which gives us a basic idea of Indian Railways as an organization. We are made to understand the various parts of the Indian Railways as an organization, the various departments, and how they function within each other, and how they are made to cooperate or coordinate amongst each other. And the various departments like the mechanical department, the signal and telecom, the accounts, the traffic, the commercial aspects, the operational aspects, and these all various functions of the Indian Railways, the social functions, the welfare functions, as well as the commercial functions of the Indian Railways, the freight activities, the passenger duties, and how the trains run, the safety aspects, and all these basic functionalities of the Indian Railways is being taught in the Advanced Foundation Program. Just like the foundation course at Labasna, the Advanced Foundation Program at National Academy of Indian Railways also helps to build the sort of camaraderie between the various officers of the Indian Railways itself. It gives us an idea about the organizational structure and the kind of posts that we will be manning later in the future. The Railway Foundation Program occurs for 10 weeks, following which the more service-specific professional training is initiated. This happens in the centralized training institutes across the country. For IRPS, the CTI is at the National Academy of Indian Railways itself. The professional training for IRPS is conducted over 2 phases, which is taken place over the next 1 year. During these professional trainings, or during these 2 phases, we are given an idea of the various laws, the codes, the manuals and the various rules and regulations which makes the railways function, especially the personnel department or the employee welfare department. The various laws and codes, as well as the disciplinary and appeal rules, the legal matters and all those things are taught within these 2 phases, which are separated by a few months time, about which I'll come into later. We are taught these things using lectures and case studies and field visits, among other things. So over a period of, as I mentioned, the 78 weeks is what our training goes on for. 10 weeks goes for the foundation course. Around 20 weeks are kept for the lectures and case studies and other field visits and visiting lecturers and all those people who are on the field. They come to us and talk to us regarding the various case studies, the various studies, their experiences, amongst other things. Around 40 weeks are left for divisional attachments. The Indian Railways is divided into 17 zones and 68 divisions to help with the smooth functioning or smooth operation of the organization. The divisional attachment involves us to go into the field and get attached to one of the divisional offices, the personnel department to be specific of that office. We go for usually 1 or 2 weeks of attachment there. We go into the field and we see the files for ourselves, get first-hand experience of the kind of work that we have to deal with. Once we are on the field, we get to know about the various sections that function under us, the various employees that function under us, and the sort of hierarchy that is practically being followed on the ground. We come into contact with the various officers that are working in the field and the officers of other departments as well, and not just the few seniors that we have, but we can see across the whole gamut of officers which work in this organization. This happens during the divisional training, which gives us a very broad idea of how things actually function on the ground, and the lectures that we are subjected to in the classrooms. We get an opportunity to see how those actually function on the ground, and we have an opportunity to apply our own minds and see how we can apply the rules and the regulations to better effect on the ground. The field visits are not limited just to the various divisions in the Indian Railways. As we know, the Indian Railways has a lot of workshops under them, which is for periodic maintenance of the locomotives and the coaches. There are various other production units as well, which, for example, the Integral Coach Factory in Chennai, the Rail Wheel Factory in Bangalore, and other organizations such. So, in addition to the divisional offices, we are also attached to these production units and workshops, wherein we get to see the actual manufacturing process and the factory environment that is prevalent in the railways. And as we know, the industrial disputes or the industrial relations is one of the aspects that the IRPS officers are supposed to take care of. So, and also since employee welfare is one of our prime agenda, it helps us to see the kind of practices that are being prevalent in the field, in reality on the ground, and how we can improve it and how we can learn from it so that we can become better officers. So this first-hand experiences of the workshop or the factory floor is very eye-opening. As I mentioned, Indian Railways is one of the largest organizations in the world, and IRPS, or the Railway Personnel Service, is the one that handles the recruitment process for the Indian Railways. The Railway Recruitment Cell and the Railway Recruitment Board are the organizations that actually implement the humongous process, which is the recruitment for the Indian Railways. As recently, there is a 90,000 worth of vacancies has been advertised, and the process of the recruitment is handled by us. And as a part of our training, we are made to visit the railway recruitment cells and the railway recruitment boards across the country and see how they function, the various process of recruitment, the question paper setting, and all those other important aspects of conducting the exam, conducting the selection processes is also made privy to us in this process. In addition to the divisions and the production units, one of the most important aspects or one of the most important arms of the Indian Railways are the various public sector undertakings, the various PSUs under the Indian Railways. We are very familiar with some of these names like the IRCTC, the RVNL, IRCON, among other organizations. As a part of our training, we get attached to these offices as well. And the functioning in the PSUs is completely different from the way the Indian Railways works. The corporate atmosphere and the overall change in the policies and the way it is implemented in the PSUs are also taught to us, or we are made to see those things as well. The officers on deputation in various PSUs, be it from the railways or other civil services, we are made to interact with them, and we also get to have an idea on how the functioning in PSUs, how is it important for the Indian Railways, and what is Railways doing to help these PSUs function properly, and the kind of difference in the work culture that happens here is also explained to us here. We also visit other governmental PSUs, the Delhi Metro, the DMRC, Konkan Railways, etc. These, even though they are railway organizations, but they are not directly under the railways purview. They are under the central government. So we also get to visit them, and we get to see the kind of organizational change or the organizational structures there, and the various human resource management policies that are being implemented in these organizations as well, so that we can have the best practices, we can implement the best practices in these organizations in our own. In addition to these, we also visit a lot of other institutions. For example, we are made to visit the various other centralized training institutions under the Indian Railways. For example, the Indian Railway Institute of Traffic Management, which is in Lucknow, which is the parent institution for the IRTS service. And we are made to visit the IRIS, which is in Pune, and the other organizations of engineering services as well, so that we can have a sort of idea about the kind of training that other services are getting and the kind of functioning of the various other services as well, so that we can have a sort of overview of the manner in which the railways function. We also have specific modules and special modules for HR training as well, because we are a dedicated HR service. For example, we have ethics and ethics in public administration. There is a specific module for that, which happens in the Institute for Governance in Panchgani. We have a dedicated 2-month intensive program in the Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode. This can happen in any of the IIMs which are chosen based on various factors on an annual basis. Our training was an Indian Institute of Management in Kozhikode. These special modules helps us to understand the various management tools and techniques which are in vogue today, and how we can implement them into the Indian Railways. Although we get a general corporate idea of the management today, but we also get a tailor-made customized course, so that we can implement these things in the government sector as well. There are other trainings, like we have a parliamentary attachment with the Bureau of Parliamentary Studies, 1-week attachment, wherein we are made to understand the nuances of the parliament and how the legislative processes and the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, we get to see the actual functioning, the ones that we study about while preparing for the civil services. We get to see them firsthand, and that is a wonderful experience. There is also a board attachment. The organizational structure, the railway board is at the top of the Indian Railways, and we have a specific attachment in the railway board as well, wherein the organizational structure that we have learnt, we get to see that firsthand, and the way it functions, and how the policies are made, the strategic directions of the Indian Railways. We are made privy to all these as a part of the railway board attachment. In addition to that, we also get to visit a lot of other government sectors and the other government ministries as well. I'll be talking about the deputational opportunities and the various officers which are on deputation in the various organizations across the country. As a part of our training, we are also made to visit these organizations like the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, the Central Board of Secondary Education, the Delhi Development Authority, to mention some. The various officers from the various civil services that are manning the posts here, we are made to have an interaction with them, so as to understand how the higher bureaucracy for that matter functions, and how we can aspire to reach there at some point of our careers. As a new addition to our training during the last year, a foreign training module has also been introduced. It was the first batch went last year to Berlin, and this year we are planning visits to Moscow and Berlin as well as a part of the foreign training, so that we can see the international best practices and see how this can be implemented across board in the Indian Railways as well. We hear about the Bharat Darshan that happens for the civil services, and we see it being a 1-month affair for most services. But the Indian Railways, as I mentioned, the various divisional attachments that happen across the year is an elaborate Bharat Darshan in itself. We get around 40 weeks, that is 40 weeks of traveling across the country, seeing the various aspects of the country and actively engaging with the cultures in the various zones of the Indian Railways. That is quite an elaborate Bharat Darshan that the railway services provides as a part of our training. In the civil services, usually a rank of around 500 to 600 is what lands you a job in the Indian Railways, depending upon your preferences. It could be IRTS, IRAS and IRPS, but the ranks are usually between the range of 5 to 600. And as I mentioned, the IRPS is the only dedicated HR service in the country today, the dedicated HR civil service in the country today. So, as we have noticed that in the government sector, the personnel management or HR management to that matter has not been at the top of their priorities for a long time, but that is changing today. The government sector is getting more employee centric, more welfare oriented, not just towards the public but also towards its own employees. With this idea in mind, one can only assume that the Indian Railway Personnel Service, or HR as a matter of fact, is going to grow much faster ahead in the future. The Indian Railways, as we see, is around 13 lakh employees strong, and managing their needs and managing their cadres and all those other things is no child's play. And IRPS as an organization has been doing that for the past 30 years now. From a conventional governmental perspective or a conventional public sector perspective, we are fast moving towards a corporate idea of HR within various organizations. Keeping up with the times, we have to give importance to our HR policy so that we can remain competitive in this competitive world that we have today. With the technology and the various other inputs that we provide, we are growing fast towards a conventional HR policy with man management and key performance areas for that matter, and there is only forward to move for this service. The way in which the IRPS as a service has grown is phenomenal. As an APO or a WPO, which is a workshop personnel officer, at our entry level we could be posted at divisions or workshops or even at the railway board for that matter. As we move further in our career, the promotion aspects are very good. We become a divisional personnel officer, and later at the JAG level, the junior administrative grade, we reach the senior DPO level, which is the branch officer at the divisional level. Above that is we move towards the higher posts like the chief personnel officer, the principal chief personnel officer, who is the highest post in the zone. And at the railway board level, the member staff is the highest encarded post for IRPS as a service, who serves as a member of the board, which is under the chairman railway board. One of the most important aspects when it comes to railways as a service is the perquisites that Indian Railways provides. Because of its massive assets across the country, the Indian Railways provides amazing accommodation as well as other perquisites to its officers. The privilege passes and the privilege ticket orders, the PTOs and privilege passes are one huge aspect of the Indian Railways, which allows us to travel across the country whenever we want, and for our family as well. The medical facilities and the educational facilities in the various railway schools and other schools for that matter is also being taken care of by the Indian Railways. So the perquisites that we receive and the accommodations when we speak about, we can notice that it is in some of the prime locations across the tier 1, tier 2 cities across the country. So the facilities that we get as an officer are phenomenal, and they are one of the major reasons why this service is so attractive for us. In addition to being a servant of the Indian Railways, like all other civil services, we are also eligible for a central staffing scheme, and other deputational opportunities once we reach a particular level in our career, which is usually 9 years. Once we become a regular JAG officer, we are eligible for a central staffing scheme, and as a part of this we can move to the various governmental departments at the center. We are also eligible for deputations in state governments as well, and these provide a sort of variety that we look forward for in our career as civil servants. The exposure to various departments and the ability to make strategic decisions is also a part and parcel of these various deputational opportunities. And after the deputation opportunities, we come back to the railways, and there are various other posts as well, like the divisional railway managers. DRM posts are also up for grabs for various services, and the experiences that these provides are amazing. The Indian Railways, as moving the public across the country, has been one of the most important organizations for the country, and the way the country is developing on its way to become a superpower, the Indian Railways is one of the organizations which will be one of the stalwarts in making sure that India is a superpower of tomorrow. And this organization has been doing stellar work and will continue to do so, and is growing at a spectacular speed with immense amount of investment coming its way, and immense amount of workforce that is being employed by the railways on a daily basis. Means that the personnel department or the HR department of the Indian Railways will be looking out to do amazing work for the Indian Railways and for the country. So it is one of the, as a service, it is very rewarding, because we are almost like the face of the Indian Railways when it comes to our employees, and our employees are quite a huge chunk of the population itself. So we are interacting with a lot of people on the daily basis. We are interacting with the trade unions as well as the various employees. So there is a man management aspect into this as well. The kind of satisfaction that you get when you make the appointments, or when you deal with the various disputes of employees, or you deal with the pension matters, the settlement matters, these are the things that people really appreciate, and the kind of satisfaction it gives you is immense. So the job satisfaction aspect is taken care of, the perquisites are being taken care of, and the overall quality of life would be quite amazing when in the Indian Railway Personnel Service. So I hope I have given you a brief overview of what this service is about, the training aspects as well as the job profile of the Indian Railway Personnel Service, and I hope it will help you to fill your DAF better, and to hope to choose this service, and make sure you contribute to the development of the nation as well. And all the best for your future, and make sure you subscribe and comment on this video. Thank you.